A lot of you guys have asked me, what are some of the best books to read if you want to be financially successful? And as someone who's read dozens of books in my 20s and 30s, I'll be sharing with you some of the top books that you need to check out and some of the ones that you can skip. So let's get into it. So the first one is I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi. He actually has a brand new show on Netflix that you should definitely check out. But basically in this book, he teaches you the different ways of how finances work, how credit scores work, the best ways to save money by just calling your utility company and asking for a discount. I think this book is fundamental to someone who is trying to learn how to be financially prosperous. And I read this back in 2015 and it really changed my mindset. I think this book goes into a solid A tier, if not S tier. It's like on the border between here and here because it does teach you so much. And just for the sake of argument, I'll put it on the S tier for now. It is, again, a really good book for you to just get your finances right and on the right track. It teaches you about credit scores, how not to abuse your finances, how not to lose all your money in one shot. So it's a great read for everybody. All right, the next one is The Millionaire Fast Lane. This book is interesting, and because it's mostly a mindset book, even though it is a really good read and very easy to read, I'm gonna put this in the C category because I don't remember this book being super impactful to my life. Like, it didn't really affect my decisions and it didn't change the way that I actually did anything, even though it was a really good story and it motivated me to keep going. The next one is The Millionaire Next Door. So this book is talking about how true millionaires are not the people who are out there with like the nicest cars, the nicest homes, the fancy watches and jewelry. Actually, people who are like that probably don't have a huge net worth. And the actual millionaire is probably just the regular chill dude next door who lives very frugally, lives very modestly. And that's what this book is about. It kind of just shows you the insights based on the data they've done and the research they've done. Normal millionaires do not have crazy cars. They drive Corollas and stuff, and they wear pretty whatever's clothing. Like, you could not tell that they are millionaires by just looking at them. But because of their investments, the way they live, they're able to accumulate a lot. And for me, that was very impactful because it made me become kind of more of a frugal person. Because of that, we're able to afford nicer things if we wanted to. The thing is, I have no desire to afford super nice things. So we spend most of our money on experiences. Again, I think this book is a great read. It really helps you with the right mindset of like how to be wealthy without looking too flashy and why you don't need to be like that. So for that reason, I'm gonna give this an A tier. Next book is Money Master the Game by Tony Robbins. I have to say, this book is very, very thick. Like, it is a big guy and it takes a very long time to read this book. A lot of it too seemed like rambling. And from what I remember, he was trying to get people to move their 401ks into the company he's kind of investing in. So that's one thing about Tony Robbins' like new books. He likes to promote his own things, like his own medicines, his own like financial stuff. And I didn't really appreciate that. But what I did like a lot about this one was how he broke down like how compound interest works. Like, okay, if you do invest this much money, here's how much it's going to be over the next 30 years. This was before I had access to like a compound interest calculator online. Just being able to see it, I guess, on a page really opened it up to me and it really made me understand, okay, this is how money works. But honestly, like, you didn't need such a big book for that. And because of this, I'm going to put it on the C tier. Yes, there was information and it was interesting, but it's so little information in such a big book that you can find it somewhere else. The next one is Principles by Ray Dalio. Ray Dalio is a very successful investor. He's done very well over the last few decades that he's been in business. The one key thing I remember about this book was that he talked about an all-weather portfolio. So when he invests in a way that if something happens in the market, then his portfolio is okay because he has other things that support it. So for example, like, he has, I think, some gold so that if the markets go down, the gold will stabilize. And when the market's up, yeah, the gold is like performing as well, but overall portfolio will still do well. So the all-weather portfolio was an interesting concept. In reality, I didn't change my investment buckets based on his principles. So for me, I liked the book a lot. It did teach me a different way to think, but this is actually a pretty hard read. Maybe it was the language he used. It wasn't like a smooth read. You know what I mean? Like, some books are very easy to read. Like, these two books are here, very easy to go through. This one was kind of hard. It took me a while to get through it. And again, because I didn't really change the way that I invested, I'm gonna put this in a solid B category. So good read, but not like the best. All right, the next one is The Psychology of Money. So this one kind of goes over why stocks do what they do. Why do they go up? How do people invest their money? How you should be investing. This is a very interesting book. It kind of also goes over like why cash is good sometimes. Sometimes people put all their money to stock because they're like, oh, if your money isn't growing, then it's just sitting there and wasting. But in reality, when stock markets crash, if you have a lot of cash available, then you can then buy stocks at a very low price and you can do very well. So The Psychology of Money is very good. I read this book, I think, last on this whole list because this book only came out just a few years ago. But if I was just getting started, I would say this is probably the #1 book to start with. Like, The Psychology of Money for me is probably the best book on this list for brand new beginners. If you start with just these two books, I think you're going to be very, very set. The next one is Rich Dad Poor Dad. So this book is pretty good because it talks about Robert Kiyosaki's journey from a young boy and I guess getting two real mentor figures, right? One is his actual father, who was a PhD, tried to just work the corporate path. And the other one was his friend's father, who was kind of a mentor figure to him. And even though this guy had really bad grades and stuff, he was able to create a business and be more financially prosperous by doing this path versus the regular get good grades, good job path. So this book opened up many eyes, and it is a very, very good story. In fact, this book convinced me to get into real estate investing because I understood, okay, cash flow is true wealth. The property, you buy it with debt, and then the cash flow lets you live a life that you want to live in. And then the property appreciates over time. So then you can then upgrade to more, bigger property, etc. So it was really, really cool. But when I read it again, I realized that there wasn't as much actual information of like strategies, what to actually do. It was more so just inspiring you to get into it. But it's not as frou-frou as like these other ones. So because of that, I'm going to give into a very solid B category and above principles, because Rich Dad Poor Dad is one of the easiest reads you're ever going to have. And I think that's what makes this book very special, because even though it doesn't have like concrete details of what to do next, it's such an easy read that once you understand it, you're like, okay, I get the concept. Let me just try it and get into it. Okay, the next one is The Richest Man in Babylon. This one again is a work of fiction. I don't think there's an actual richest man in Babylon, but the whole point of this one is put 10% of your gross earnings into savings, into investments, no matter what. If you just do that, you're gonna live a very prosperous life. And I can tell you, I did just that, and I live, from what I think, a very prosperous life. Another thing that they talk about here is to not invest in things that you don't know about. So some guy I think came in here, offered him a great investment on these jewels. He said, great, I'll love to buy them. He bought them and then realized later that they're all glass. So because he wasn't an expert, he didn't have a friend to help him out, he ended up getting tricked and lost all his money. And a lot can be said about, cryptocurrencies right now. People don't know what they're getting into. They're buying random things because of all the hype, and then they lose all their money because they bought the wrong stuff. So again, this one I think is a very easy read. It is a pretty old book, but it is pretty small. So because of that, I'm putting this in the A category. I really like this book. All right, the next one is The Science of Getting Rich. Now, this is a very interesting book because it says there's a science to getting rich. It is not luck. It is not by chance. It is actual science. There's a procedure. You follow this procedure, you're guaranteed to get rich. But what is this procedure? He said the procedure is there is this essence, this thing in the ether that if you can capture it and then market it, you will get rich. So for me, again, a cool story, I enjoyed it, but what is the ether? What is the thing? And then, he's like, basically that's what you need to figure out, right? But it is there for everyone. You just have to capture it and grab it. Again, because it is more mindset related, not really teaching you like how to invest, how to start your own business. Unfortunately, I'm giving this one a D category just because it's like, you don't really need to read that book. It doesn't help you that much. Next one is The Four by Scott Galloway. So The Four talks about the big four companies at the time, which was Facebook, Google, Amazon, and Apple, and why these guys are leading the tech industry, and they were known as like the FANG companies back in the day. Essentially, he's talking about AI and how AI is making these companies have the Benjamin Button disease, meaning every year that goes by, these companies actually get better. They don't get older like real estate does. They get smarter and better because AI makes their companies even better. They have better programs, faster stuff. They scale with technology, and they have such a huge dominant lead that it's hard for them to lose. Now, for me, I really enjoyed this book because it taught me like, okay, to look for these type of companies in the 21st century that will propel society. And for me, I totally believe that AI will make society better. Now, what are some of the companies that help AI and make us more successful? And some of the companies like that are going to be like Intel, AMD, and Nvidia. I gotta tell you, I bought stocks in all of these companies and Nvidia, and that has increased my net worth a significant amount since that time. So for that reason, The Four is going to go in the solid A category. Thing is, it's not going to go above these two books because this book, unfortunately, is not timeless. We don't know if Facebook, Google, Amazon, or Apple are going to continue being very, very successful. But for these things, like this is going to be great no matter when you read these books. This book was written in early 2018, so it may or may not be as relevant as it was back in the day. Next one is The Intelligent Investor. What this book is talking about is fundamental investing. So you are investing on a fundamental basis. You are buying stocks that have enough profit per share to make it worthwhile. And the thing is, this book was written a long time ago, I think sometime in the 50s or 60s. And because of that, things have changed. Like finding companies with that kind of profit to earning ratio is not as, I guess, smart as it was back in the day. If you go with this book, you probably won't buy any of these companies here, any of these tech companies, because these guys are valued a different way. These companies sometimes will run years with minimal to negative profit for years or decades. And if that's the case, you wouldn't have bought any of these things and you would have missed out on all those gains because of the value investing. It's just the way that the landscape has changed. And because of that, I don't recommend this book. Also, this book is very, very thick and very boring to read. Like it was written a long time ago. It It is not an easy read, and the information there isn't as good as it used to be. So because of that, unfortunately, I am putting this in the D category. Like, I do not recommend people read this book. It is a niche pickup, and you're better off just reading like this one instead. So finally, Think and Grow Rich. This one is also a very famous book, but again, because it is mostly talking about mindset and doesn't actually give you things to really do, I'm gonna put this in the C category. There's also some controversy with Napoleon Hill about him just being a life salesman and like how he didn't actually talk to Andrew Carnegie, like this whole thing's a lie. So, I mean, that's okay, whatever, just read it as a book of fiction and then use it for the mindset thing. But overall, Think and Grow Rich, it is gonna be better than these two other books though, so I'll put it above it. It is like a fundamental book to read to understand, I guess, how money works and how you should use like your mind to create things and how it's like the most important thing. It's not about just like working a job or whatever, it's like how do you use your brain? But overall, it doesn't make as much impact to your finances as these ones will. So overall, as a quick review, The Ecology of Money and I'll Teach You to Be Rich, great books. Highly recommend you pick them up. Millionaire Next Door, Rich Men in Babylon, and The Four. Again, really cool books to read, especially Millionaire Next Door. It really gives you that mindset that you do not need to be a flashy person. And that's why I live my life the way I live. Like, I really don't care how I dress or how I look. I got this shirt at Primark for $3, okay? Like, I don't care. I think it looks great and I don't need to show off to someone else that I have a higher status than them by wearing flashy jewelry. Rich Men in Babylon, learn how to save and invest at a consistent rate and you will be successful no matter what. The Four, it kind of just shows you like if you want to pick stocks, how to pick the right ones, kind of like why these companies are going to be really good and how they have the Benjamin Button disease. So again, that's really cool. Rich Dad Poor Dad and Think and Grow Rich, more so for mindset. Principles, if you really want to learn like the technicalities of how to invest, it's cool. But again, I don't think this is for everyone. Millionaire Fastlane, again, just like Think and Grow Rich, just talks about mindset and how to be successful this way. Money Master Game, again, I think it's just too long. Same with Intelligent Investor. Like this book is just too long, doesn't give you anything that's like concrete enough for today's day and age. So I would pass on it. And Science of Growing Rich too. Science of Getting Rich is just like Millionaire Fastlane, written in the 1920s. So it's very, very strange. But overall, here's my tier list of books. Now, if you guys want a guide on how to start investing, you can check out my Money Makeover Toolkit. It basically summarizes what I learned from reading all these books over all these years. You get that for free down in the description below. And if I missed your favorite book and you want to know where I would rank them here, go leave it down in the comment section below. And if I read it, I'll give my comments on it. And if you guys enjoyed this video, then I highly recommend you check out this next one where I talk about the best investing strategies for absolute beginners. Thanks for watching this video. I appreciate you and I'll see you next time. Take care.